Hi, everybody. So my name's Katiana. I'm the Assistant Director for the online MSL program, and with me is Dean Clemence Kuchera.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And today we're going to be kind of talking about the difference between the MSL and the JD program, just because they're two programs that students are often both interested in. And so we thought we'd kind of discuss a little bit about what the differences are and kind of how to figure out which program is right for you. So we're going to do introduction. This is just kind of our agenda for the day. So we're going to do an introduction, then we're going to talk about the MSL program versus the JD program, go over our two online concentrations, and then next steps if you're interested in applying, and then we can do questions afterwards. So just to get started, I'm just going to be asking Dean Kuchera some questions, and then she's just kind of going to cover some basics. So the big thing is, what's the difference between an MSL program and a JD program? So let's start with the MSL program.
Sure. So this obviously is a question, as you mentioned, that we often get from students who are considering the MSL program or the JD program. And the big difference is the type of career that one can do with either of the degrees. So with an MSL, it's a law degree. That's, I think, why there's a lot of confusion between the JD and an MSL. So it's a law degree. Like the JD program, you don't need to have any prior legal knowledge. But this is one where students get to specialize into a particular area of law over a year or two. And usually our program is 2 years done on a part-time basis. So it's a very focused area, degree in a particular area of law. The JD program is, I'm sorry, I'm just like jumping ahead. Okay, so the JD program is our general law degree. That doesn't mean that you cannot specialize in a particular area of laws, like we have concentrations and JD programs across the nations are set up the same. But it's one that leads you to the profession of being an attorney and representing clients in the courtroom and being eligible to take a bar exam. The MSL program is a program that does not teach you and does not train you to be an attorney in the courtroom and does not certainly like prep you to take a bar exam. With an MSL degree, you're not eligible to actually sit for the bar exam. So that's the big difference, is the type of career that you can do. Now, there is some careers that, are similar, whether you've done an MSL or a JD degree. There are tons of positions that do not require someone to be a member of a bar exam or to represent clients. So especially in the water and environmental law, in the HR world, business law world, government law and policy, of course, is another one where there is a lot of overlap, where both degrees, would teach you the skills needed to be successful in those environments.
Perfect. Thank you. I know you already kind of covered a little bit of this, but just to give some more specific examples, what would be, aside from, mostly being attorneys, what are some career outcomes for MSL students or graduates?
So for MSL students, like from our programs, like people have worked like, in the legislatures, such as legislative aide or staffer or even director of public policy for particular elected officials. Tons of HR directors, analysts. We also have a lot of people who work in state government or in water and environmental law. For example, like we've had people with a science background, like an engineer background, and there are also environmental specialists, engineer specialists for the state, different state agencies, but they needed to have that legal knowledge in order to continue advancing in that field because it's so regulated. So usually it's people who have a passion in a particular area, in a particular field, but it's just that field tends to be so regulated that they need to have that legal knowledge. But they don't need to have 3 years of legal knowledge. They don't need to know about torts if they are, if they're interested in policy or in. So anyway, where for the JD. With a JD degree, you're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be able to represent clients. You're going to be able to advocate on behalf of clients. So it's a different type of, obviously it's very different type of professions, but We also have people, obviously, with a GD degree who works at the Capitol. We have a lot. And actually, some of our professors who teach in the MSL program graduated with a JD degree from McGeorge and are teaching in the MSL program. And we also have MSL graduates who also, are involved in our law schools in general. So there is a lot of overlap in the government law and policy world.
Okay. So some additional differences. What about like cost of the programs and then timing? Like how long does it take for an MSL versus JD? And then I know there's a significant cost difference between the two as well.
Yes, so the MSL program, so it's a master's program, so it's built similar than many other master's program. Because our program, we have developed it for working professionals, though you certainly do not have to be full-time working or in order to be eligible for the program, but we had that particular group in mind when we developed our program. So the large majority of our students do the program over 2 years on a part-time basis, so 6 units each term plus summer, and it's roughly $36,000. The tuition is comparable to others. Master's program, it's on a per unit rate. The JD program is, so the MSL is 26 units, because as we mentioned, like we're going to teach you the foundational skills and legal knowledge that you need in your first semester, and then you're going to go straight into the area that you're interested in. The JD program is going to be a 3 to 4 years degree, and it's 88 units, so it's significantly more. The tuition also changed significantly, because at that point, like, you're paying a flat fee each semester, because you're able to take a lot more than 88 units if you wanted to take more than 88 units. Although I'm not sure, like, we have a lot of students who do that. Because you're going to take a bar exam, we spend a lot of time teaching you on how to be successful on the bar exam, and it takes a lot of time to prep that skill. So that's a difference of price and of time. The admissions requirements are obviously different. For the JD program, we still ask for a GRE or the LSAT, the Law School Administration Test, in order to be eligible for the JD program. Many other law schools also ask for the LSAT or the GRE. There may be few schools who do not have any admission test and entrance exam that they require, but I am not familiar with those, but I'm sure there are some. For the MSL program, because we do not, again, it goes back to the bar exam. We're not going to teach you to be a lawyer and to pass the bar exam. So we don't need to get an LSAT or GRE, which are good, like, standardized tests that can help admission officers figure out, like, what are the likelihood of being successful in the bar exam. For the MSL, we don't have that need. What we ask instead is a writing sample, because there is, as you can imagine, a lot of writing, and because the program is so quick, we won't have the time to teach back again some of those foundational writing skills. So we want to make sure that our students come with a strong writing skills.
Mm-hmm. And the writing sample, is that something they do like in preparation for the application, or is that something they've written for like work or school?
Yeah, good question. No, it's something that we want to see, something that either they've written for their bachelor's program, if they have graduated within the last few years, if they have, if they've been working for a fair number of years, like something that they wrote for work, a memo, an internal memo, a letter to a client, whatever it is. Obviously, you can redact like any confidential information, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now just kind of, how do students go about, or applicants go about figuring out which program is the right one for them if they're considering an MSL versus a JD program? Why would they consider an MSL over a JD program?
We go back to career. What do you want to do? Why are you pursuing your education? Once you have identified that, then it's going to be a lot easier to figure out like which degree it is. If you want to represent clients, the only way to represent clients in the traditional way is to be an attorney. Now, you can advocate on behalf of nonprofits, you can be a lobbyist, and for this, you don't have to be an attorney. But so it really goes back to career. So when I have applicants or prospective students who are interested in either, we just spend a lot of time talking about like what did they decided to go to law school, and from there, then we can figure out like which degree is the best. Now, mind you, like if you do the MSL program, you won't be able to transfer those credits to count towards the GD program. So yeah, you have your last question there. So it's important. That's why we spend a lot of time talking about this. Because there's no going back. From the JD, you could transfer to the MSL, but then you would have paid a semester or a year of JD tuition, which is significantly more than the MSL tuition. So
Yeah. Makes sense.
I see you have a question about time commitment and flexibility of programs. So the MSL is very flexible. The way we have developed our programs is asynchronous. Online, you can, if you're here local, you can also take some classes in person, but you can pretty much do our program fully online in an asynchronous manner. So it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Mhm.
The JD students, they sometimes take those MSL classes because it gives them so much flexibility, and those are law classes, and they meet all of the American Bar Association standards, so they're the same rigor as a regular JD class. But in the JD program, you have a lot less flexibility just because of the amount of units that you need to take. And if you wanted to graduate within a reasonable amount of time and not to, pay $300,000 for your education, you do need to finish your program in 3 or 4 years.
Makes sense. Okay, and then I figured we would just talk a little bit about the 2 online programs or the 2 online concentrations for the MSL. So for the first one would be our water and environmental law concentration. Now, just real quickly, so both concentrations require the same amount of units. They're just the required courses, and obviously the focus is different. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about our water and environmental law concentration.
Sure. So it's as we mentioned, like, and I think I've talked a little bit about this. It's for people who already, well, most of the time it's for people who already work in this field, but they have an interest in very much like just advancing their career, and they need to have that knowledge. It applies to a lot of people. You can imagine that in California we have a lot of water and environmental issues. And this year, although was significantly better than others when it comes to water, there's still like a fair number of issues. And it goes from working for the state government and helping craft those regulations, or lobbying it on behalf of farmers in the middle of California who are growing our food. So it's just like a very wide range. So we teach a water and environmental law concentration in our JD program. So, and we've done that for a long time. We've often been ranked. So we have that expertise. And a few years ago, we decided to put this concentration, this MSL concentration, online, and for people who don't have a legal background or who do not want to become an attorney, because it applies to so many people, at least in our states. And I know it's now those issues are relevant in many other states, right? So we're expanding our outreach.
Very nice. Okay, and then the second one is our government law and policy concentration. I think this one is one of our more popular because we're located in Sacramento. So
yeah, sure. So this program is for people who wants to work in and around the capital. As Katyana mentioned, Sacramento, everybody works in and around the capital here in Sacramento, it feels like. But there is a huge need to understand all those legal regulation, legal theory, especially as bills are drafted and passed and negotiated and lobbied. So it's a broad concentration in a sense that it can apply to so many different people. But we have specialized courses in which students can choose. Like we have obviously a lobbying course, but not everybody's interested in lobbying. Maybe somebody works more in the election field. So we have an election law course. Our students are also able to take classes in other concentrations, right? It doesn't have to be just in that one. And we're also launching an online concentration in business law. Mm-hmm. So starting I know it's not fully launched yet, but starting in the spring, we'll start offering some business law classes fully online also, just because there's a lot of overlap between all of our concentrations, and students are able to pick and choose their electives.
Very nice. Okay, so that's kind of it for our general presentation. Thank you, Dean Kuchera. Next step, so if you're interested in applying, you can find our application on our website. As she mentioned, we don't have a GRE or an LSAT required. Application deadline is November 6th because classes do start in January. And then now we're going to move on to questions. You can either put them in the chat or there's the question box. I'm going to try to get to my little Zoom screen that I can't find at the moment. I'm going to stop sharing for just 1 second.
So don't be shy. Go ahead and ask us your questions. There's a good time. Of course, we can always meet with you one by one. But will the business courses be available in January? So yes, but you have to remember that as a new MSL student in your first semester, you're going to take the foundational law courses. So all of our MSL students, including students who decide to just specialize in business law, have to take our contracts class and our introduction to legal analysis to fully, to get that legal foundation. And after that, you start being able to either like there may be additional required courses that we will recommend you to take, or you can start taking your electives. So something else that I didn't mention in the presentation, and I thought about it afterwards, is although I keep referring to this as a 2-year program, we've had many students during the program in a little bit more than 2 years, even sometimes 3 years, because you pay on a per unit basis, the rate. You also, in other words, you only pay for the units that you're taking. If for whatever reason you needed to either take a leave of absence or you needed to only take one class, you can, a semester, you certainly can, and it doesn't affect you negatively financially and also with your academic standing, because we also don't do ranking the same way that the JD program does. So we're certainly able to adjust the duration of the program and course enrollment based on life events.
And I think with that, just because it's a question I often get, there is a time limit to complete the degree. Like you have to do it in 5 years, but even if you're taking 1 class a semester and 2 another semester, you usually don't get to that max, even with that. So
yeah, I don't think we've ever had anyone taking 5 years, but yeah.
why not? Any other questions?
So I know it's a hard decision to figure out which law degree is best. Again, like I enjoy talking with prospective students, and if you're considering either doing the JD program or the MSL program, like reach out to us. I'm happy to meet with you. I know that Kat is also happy to be with you. And perhaps you've already decided, and that's great. But if you're still debating a little bit, like just do reach out to us. We will tell you which one, based on what you're telling us, which one we think is best.